There is too much news going around about investing in Bitcoin, enough to confuse any beginner. In the past few years, Bitcoin's price has jumped over 600%. Critics of Bitcoin point to its instability and lack of nimbleness in transactions. But there are very good reasons for business leaders to invest in it. In today's video, we'll be giving you 10 reasons why you need to invest in Bitcoin. Before we start, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the post notifications. Done? We're ready to go. Number 10. Fixed supply. It is predefined in its source code that it must have a limited and finite supply. For this reason, only 21 million Bitcoins will be ever produced. On average, these Bitcoins are introduced to the Bitcoin supply at a fixed rate of 1 block every 10 minutes. In addition, the amount of Bitcoin released in each of these aforementioned blocks is reduced by 50% every 4 years. Unlike conventional currencies, they do not contain the risk of inflation, so can maintain purchasing power in real terms. Also, they can avoid the risks of devaluation brought about by profligate governments. They can also provide stability and transparency in politically volatile environments. Critics point out that while Bitcoin may have a finite supply of units, which is 21 million as of now, the number of cryptocurrencies is ever growing and potentially limitless. Number 9. Its value will rise significantly. While Bitcoin is great for storing value, there are countless practical Bitcoin uses that tend to get overlooked. You can actually live your entire life on crypto. This keeps increasing the value of it. There are many people who live their entire lives using Bitcoin debit cards. Services like BitPay, as one of the largest providers, will quickly allow you to fund your debit card in Bitcoin, and at the time of transaction behind the scenes, will convert your BTC to USD. There are also countless services that allow you to convert your BTC to gift cards for thousands of stores, including the App Store, Lowe's, Target, Uber, Walmart, Domino's, and several others. Gambling is another practical Bitcoin use case. Apart from this, Bitcoin is cheap to send, especially while crossing borders. Depending on network congestion and the amount of the transaction, Bitcoin fees can be as low as pennies on the dollar. Number 8. Bitcoins are independent of any central authority. With the introduction of Bitcoin, the world got evidence that a decentralized control structure could work in practice for institutional governance. The lack of central counterparties and regulatory authorities in the Bitcoin network is viewed as a key benefit by many of Bitcoin's users. There are many ways that payment systems work to minimize the problems created by divergent goals such as these. Separating some of the powers of the central authority into interdependent parts is one common solution. Another advantage of the decentralized decision structure of Bitcoin lies in its open source software. Open source software can be maintained and improved by a large enough consensus of users, and these decisions are transparent. By contrast, with the central decision maker, software can be changed or even removed on the whim of this decision maker, with little recourse on the part of the software's users. Even the decision to discontinue Bitcoin, if it happens, will only occur when so many participants decide not to accept Bitcoin that no one will use it as a medium of exchange. Number 7. Lower fees than other traditional online payments. The major draw of Bitcoin for many users, and indeed one of the central tenets of cryptocurrencies more generally, is autonomy. Users are able to control how they spend their money without dealing with an intermediary authority like a bank or government. Bitcoin users are not subject to the litany of traditional banking fees associated with fiat currencies. This means no account maintenance or minimum balance fees, no overdraft charges, and no return deposit fees, among many others. Also, standard wire transfers and foreign purchases typically involve fees and exchange costs. Since Bitcoin transactions have no intermediary institutions or government involvement, the costs of transacting are kept very low. This can be a major advantage for travelers. Additionally, any transfer in Bitcoins happens very quickly, eliminating the inconvenience of typical authorization requirements and wait periods. Number 6. It's the largest cryptocurrency out there. Bitcoin continues to lead the pack of cryptocurrencies in terms of market capitalization, user base, and popularity. By being the first in this segment that it has created itself, Bitcoin necessarily has a significant advantage over its competitors. Over the past 11 years, this advantage has never diminished. On the contrary, Bitcoin has continued to widen the gap over its competitors, and more users are coming on board. Bitcoin is constantly seeing much more new money coming in than its competitors, which only reinforces its dominance in the market, which has risen to over 65% in 2019. Towards the end of 2020, Bitcoin experienced another sudden rise in worth per single coin. By then, the record was nearly $20,000, which happened in December of 2017. For the better part of 2020, the leading crypto kept a rather favorable and steady value of between $11,000 and $13,000. However, starting from November of 2020, it started to rise slowly and ended the year with a worth of $28,990. Right now, one coin is worth more than $58,000. Number 5. More companies are creating tools for the Bitcoin ecosystem. Blockchain is well known for underpinning cryptocurrencies, but it has the potential to transform various industries, including healthcare, logistics and supply chain, insurance, financial, and much more. Reputed companies like Samsung and IBM are also adopting blockchain technology to offer innovative solutions and ways to enterprises and startups. Various blockchain development tools have been introduced to ease the process of blockchain app development. As more products are built and used in the Bitcoin ecosystem, the adoption rate for Bitcoins will increase and its demand with it. This means you can easily turn a few $100s into a few $1,000s with enough increase in demand. Number 4. Most secure way to pay online. Bitcoin is one of the safest ways to pay over the internet. In a normal transaction, you have to send your bank or credit card details to the vendor in order for them to process the transaction. This makes you vulnerable to hacking and other transaction manipulation. With Bitcoin, the only thing that is broadcast when you buy something is your public address. So the transaction looks like this. Wallet X is sending 1 Bitcoin to Wallet Y. There's nothing that someone can do with that address unless they want to send money back to it. They would need your private key in order to get more money from your wallet. Number 3. To be an early adopter of the powerful blockchain technology. The most powerful thing about Bitcoins is not the Bitcoin currency, but the blockchain that they have behind. Beyond the technological revolution it embodies, Bitcoin is also an ideological revolution. Bitcoin proved that a peer-to-peer payment system without any central control authority was possible on a large scale. A blockchain is just a confusing name for a shared database, and it will have lots of large-scale applications. Bitcoin allows you to become one of the early users in this technology that can revolutionize the world. Number 2. Europe just regulated it as a commodity exempt of VAT. The Court of Justice of the European Union has ruled that the services of a Bitcoin exchange in exchanging Bitcoin for a traditional currency is exempt from VAT on the basis of the currency exemption. It is key to the economics of running a Bitcoin exchange that sales taxes are minimized. As a result, where a Bitcoin exchange expects to transact with a significant number of non-businesses, this decision makes Europe look an attractive location to establish a Bitcoin exchange. Consideration will also need to be given to the expected location of the counterparties to consider the best way to manage any irrecoverable VAT costs resulting from supplies made to the Bitcoin exchange. It provides an important degree of certainty and should help virtual currency exchanges set up in Europe, and may make Europe a more competitive location for exchanges. Number 1. To prevent a possible bank run. Banks operating a fractional reserve can extend credit by loaning out more money than they have as deposits. If there is a free market in banking and fractional reserve banking is allowed, it always bestows a competitive advantage for a bank to run a fractional reserve. Other banks often have to follow suit in order to stay in business, even if their directors had hoped to run a more honest business, as in full reserve banking. However, fractional reserve banks run into problems if and when their depositors figure out that their deposits are not safe, because they've been lent out many times over. Discreet depositors will quickly withdraw their own deposits and then raise an alarm, prompting others to withdraw their respective deposits as a whole. Obviously, the bank can't pay all of its depositors and will be forced into bankruptcy. This is a bank run. Central banks prevent bank runs by acting as the lender of last resort. If a bank faces mass withdrawals, it can borrow the money to pay its depositors from the central bank, thus avoiding the run. Bitcoins can be a solution to store wealth outside of the traditional banking system, and therefore avoiding people to panic when bank runs take place. So, what is your reason to invest in Bitcoin? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and do subscribe if you haven't already. See you again in another interesting video.